Okay, 10 years ago or more, I built a V8 Marina Coupe. I built it on my driveway at home. It was built from a Land Rover Discovery 1 V8 automatic gearbox from a Sherpa van. I think it was an X-Rite van. I got it running on the drive and it went great in reverse. It just wouldn't go forwards more than creeping, and that was because the ZF gearbox was absolutely had it. Common thing apparently. Anyway, a little bit disheartened because I spent quite a lot of time building it. Decided to change it for a manual gearbox. Got all the parts ready to do that change, and then life got in the way and ended up selling it. Sold it to a friend of mine. He decided he wanted to put it back to a 1300 A series.
Skip to the end.
Another friend has bought the car. Doesn't have the V8 in it anymore. He's decided to put a Mazda 1800 engine in it, and I've got the task of mounting it. So that is what I'm going to do today. So here we are in the engine bay of the Mazdina, as it's going to be called apparently. I've got to clean up the rails, see how far along the engine's actually going to mount, because I've no idea. The idea is try and get it as far back as possible without having to touch the bulkhead. Where we've got the steering rack, we obviously need to make sure there's enough room for the gearbox. On previous engine conversions I've done on Marinas, that is usually the sticking point, is that steering rack, because it runs across the back of the bulkhead. Anyway. And look at dropping the engine in. Or at least for the first time, not for the last time. It's going to be a few times. Let's go. Working in a double garage, people might say I've got an advantage over some. It's still very tight. Let it be known, I have no idea what a Mazda 1800 engine, I have no idea what these engines do, horsepower wise. I'll put some specs up on the screen. All I know is it's from a Mazda MX5. So what mileage it's done? Right, 5-speed gearbox, 16 valve engine, 1800 cc's. Very long gearbox, but I'm told they're similar length to a Ford Type 9. Now, when I fitted a Ford Type 9 onto the back of a Z-Tech, and fit it into a Marina, I had to change the tunnel around a bit, but this looks quite slim, so hopefully it'll be fairly minimal. Back of the engine you've got the heater controls, which is fairly close to the Marina heater, so that's good. Hopefully we won't have to change anything there. There's a oil pipe which is running up to the back, so there's a bit of real estate, as they say, on the back of the head, which obviously we don't want to interfere with the bulkhead at all, because I do not want to have to cut the bulkhead. This should drop straight in and sit as far back as possible without too many issues, I hope. Let's see what happens. Go! Blisters all over my skin. Always a step behind. Just like I'm going blind. From the front pulley to the gearbox is about 495 millimeters. So, it'll definitely fit better than the V8 did. Just need to figure out on the chassis whereabouts it's going to come to before it gets to the rack. And I'm wondering if it's a similar size to a 1300 A series, this Mazda engine, because that is pretty much where that is. Be interesting to find out. There's me thinking we could fit using the A series mounting points. Don't think so. This is an A series. So the A series is, as you can see, is actually halfway between. So it's literally smack bang halfway, which is 250 odd mil. So that's how small that engine is. This is the Mazda engine, and the engine mounts on these, I'm guessing this is probably where this is here. Starter motor. Don't think that's even connected. Whatever that is. So yeah, have a ponder, I think. I think it'll work. Well, it'll fit one way or another. It'll go in. I mean, say it had a V8 in there. When I fitted that, there was not a lot of space anywhere in the engine bay. I had to use block hugger headers to get the exhaust out of it, and it fitted and it worked. It wasn't necessarily practical. This, I think, is going to be a much more practical option, other than putting an A series back in it, and I don't think John wants that. So let's have a play. Got the car up in the air. I've got the Mazda engine wheeled underneath, and on the face of it, it fits lovely. Obviously it now needs to be mounted, but what I'm going to have to do now is bring the car back down to the ground, because I need to lift the engine up to see where we are for positioning, and then I can work out on the rails where that's going to be, and I can then start prepping and making some engine mounts. So we're now going to use the sketchiest engine hoist ever in the world to lift the car off the axle stands, put it back down the ground, around the engine, and then hopefully lift the engine back up with the same dodgy engine crane. Okay, engine is now in the engine bay. It fits really nicely actually. So what I'm going to do is centre it so we know that the block is roughly in the middle. I've got it as far back as I think I'd want it to go at this stage. Once the mounts are on it, obviously it'll tilt and all the rest of it. But the main thing at the moment is to make sure it's central in the front of the engine bay. But I'm happy with that at the moment. I think that's good. To make plates that go inside the block, box sections come out from those, then go on to some new box sections on the chassis rail. It'll all make sense when I've done it. I meant to say, if you're enjoying the video content and you're enjoying the channel, please like and subscribe. It really will help me to make worse decisions for these cars. Better decisions for these cars that not OB loves. Worse decisions, I don't know. Depends how you look at it. But yeah, like and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. Right, so this is one of the plates we got off of eBay for making your own engine mounts. There's not a lot of meat on it for putting what I want to do, which is like a box section, 50mm box section. You'd be over the edge slightly. And really, where the engine is, they sit too low. There's not enough meat. So, do away with those. Carry on. Right, so this is the original Mazda engine mount, which as you can see is built for a subframe. So it's angled. We don't have a subframe, so I could have drawn this up on CAD, laser cut it and been done, but I haven't got the time. I want to get this done in a day. So old school cardboard aided design, drawn around it, cut it out with a disc cutter and just cleaned off the edges. Now to drill it, put it on the block, see where we're at. Certainly going to be strong enough. Okay, if I don't say it myself, these are really good engine mounts. Quite pleased with those, how they turned out. Yes, I could have laser cut them, but you know, time's not on my side really with this. I want to get it done, so cutting them out by hand is the next best thing. I haven't got access to a plasma cutter, but we've got a disc cutter, so it seems to make good. So let's get them plated on the block and then work out how far the extensions need to come off the block and make a chassis extension for meeting up with that and figure out what rubbers we're going to use. Got it? Let's go. Always a step behind, just like I'm going blind. Ever after on the loose, I will never get to choose. Nowhere else to go, nothing more to show. I never thought it'd come to this. Hello. To get the engine mount, and I've got it jacked in the garage in such a way I can't open the door, so I had to put my hand through the gearbox opening to get them out. But these, I once held the manual gearbox in, but I think they'll be pretty good for actually holding the engine in. I think I said at the beginning I was going to clean the rails first. I lied, because I don't really plan these things, I sort of just go with the flow. Get these tacked in place. Oh hello. These are the rail extensions, which are the same length as the pieces I've put on the engine. And the idea here, possibly, because it could all change, is to weld them onto the chassis rail, and then we can then drill into whichever part centered and then put a captive nut, or I might hole saw out the bottom so we can actually put a nut and bolt through it, which is probably easier to be honest, because then I'm going to box in the ends. Okay, this is me trying to be scientific. What I've done is I've zeroed the protractor to 0 at this level, because obviously the car at the moment is on jack stands. I want to zero this, and when I put the rail piece on and get the magnet and move that over there, we want it to be exactly the same, which is to 0. That's the idea anyway. Let's get the magnet 20 now. Make your mind up. Right, let's go and grab a magnet. Is it going to work? The idea is to get square 0.
I never thought it'd come to this.
Right, they're welded in. Just going to clean up the welds a little bit with a flap disc, and then pull the engine in, see what we're up to. Okay, Mazdina is one step closer to being on the road. It now has the engine in and the gearbox. Back to John, he can sort out the wiring and then interior, and you know, probably get a few little jobs done before it probably comes back running, which I'll show you on this channel if you're interested. We'll do a startup when it's all done. Right, so the engine mounts are on. I've just tacked them for the moment, just so they actually hold the engine in place, but I'll probably box them up at some point. It's not that bad, it's really not. It looks worse than it is. There's a few little grotty areas I've got to do, I think. Don't get it right, get it running.